This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
When the NFL was created, George Halas's Chicago Bears rocketed pro football into the nation's spotlight.
The Bears, the world champions.
Give me 18 inches of daylight. That's all I need.
Nicknamed the Monsters of the Midway,
I like that top body. The refrigerator.
the Bears transformed the National Football League.
The Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams.
Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Pointless Exercise podcast. It's time for our breakdown of week 3
Andy, did I lose you?
of Bears Hard Knocks.
Never mind.
Don't step on the intro, Praz. This is this podcast
Sorry.
gold.
Sorry, you cut out for a second. Didn't mean to make it like an intro that you and Bad Kermit used to do. When,
Are we on? What's the name of the podcast? I don't remember. Yeah, basically the same thing. So with me is Mike Praznowski. Mike Pusateri is on assignment, but I think we found out what the assignment is. Don't you think he's driving Hector Neris to Houston?
Yes.
Yeah,
Probably
that's what
picked
I
him up somewhere along I-80 and, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why we have Dave Brown on the baseball podcast. He was insistent some good team would pick him up, and we're like, no, I was at least like, no, nobody's going to want him, and he's right back in Houston. And watch, he'll be, what do you think? Like, he'll probably pitch in 12 games and throw 12 and a third scoreless innings for the Astros. Yeah.
He'll probably go back to having like a 1.7 ERA or whatever he had last year for them.
The only other thing that might happen would be that he, it's one or the other. I don't even know the schedule, but let's say the Cubs go on some crazy roll here at the end, and they've caught the Braves on the last day, and Houston has a big lead against the Braves. The Cubs need him to lose, and Hector comes in and blows like a 6-run lead in the ninth.
That'd be
Braves
perfect.
make the playoffs.
Exactly. And then in the off season they file, some kind of grievance to get that money owed to him for the player option this off season.
Now, we're off to a great start on this football podcast, but Jason Hayward DFA'd today by the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to look up, because I couldn't remember just how much the Cubs are still paying him this year in deferred money, I learned something that I did not know, and that is that his $20 million signing bonus that he's waived from way back in the winter of 2015 going into 16 is paid out $5 million a year from now until 2027. The Cubs are going to write Jason Hayward a $5 million check the next 3 years.
Not quite Bobby Bonilla, but
it never
kind of the
ends.
equivalent of the Cubs, Bobby Bonilla.
Just Theo's lasting gift. I guess 2 things: a World Series trophy and the Jason Hayward contract. Those are the 2 things that are still around from the Theo era.
Great.
All right, there was a startling lack of Cub scenes in the Hard Knocks. It's almost like it's about the Bears, but apparently it is about the Bears. And we got some things in week 3 that we had been waiting for.
This was probably
we
the
checked
best
some
one
more.
yet.
Check some more boxes on the bingo card. We'll get to them as we go through this. But so it starts with the Flus and Caleb in the Flus's office, with Flus asking questions about the big game on Saturday.
Right.
And if you think that it's something they do every week, the fact that when Flus said, "Well, let's look at some plays," you can just Caleb, you can spin around. It's on the screen behind. Caleb, spin around. It's right. It's like, okay, they've never done this before. Because Caleb didn't know there was a screen behind him.
That, or just Matt Eberflus is like the most, like, I don't know, very nervous, like, interior designer ever, that like he wants his screen on a different wall every other week.
That's true. I could be.
Yeah.
Coach, stop moving the screen. But we got to see the Flus break down some film with Caleb. And first question I asked him was, do you like your left foot here? And Caleb's like, yeah, it's on at the bottom of my left leg. But it's kind of interesting to watch the Flus breakdown film. And then he had that article in The Athletic this week where he broke it down with Kevin Fishbane. And he had some plays from the defense last year. And he gets into some true minutia that I didn't know. I learned things in the Fishbane thing. Flus claims that while the ball is in the air, you can make up a third of the distance between you and a receiver if you break on the ball. So if you're 10 feet behind, you can get 3 feet behind. That's it. So if you get too far behind, you can't catch up. I find it genuinely interesting stuff that he brings up. I think a lot of fans, not we, of course, you and I, we know how smart the Flus is.
Right.
I think a lot of fans think he's kind of dumb, but what he is he is not very. He's better this year, but he wasn't very media savvy or polished.
Right.
And
seems to be asserting himself a lot more in this too than we've ever seen him.
Yeah, and we've talked about this. A lot of the goal of Hard Knocks for the Bears is to show that side of Matt Eberflus.
Right.
That this guy actually does know what he's doing, and I know a lot of you think he doesn't, but he does. And I think it's worked. I think he has come off well in the first 3 weeks of this. It's not, he's not super entertaining, but he comes off as competent.
He's not. He comes off as influential on this. You can tell that in the scenes they show in practice that there's no players there that are blowing him off. That everyone gets the message he's trying to deliver there. Seems to be pretty well liked by all the players, and they're all staying focused.
Because I'm a longtime Hard Knocks watcher and aficionado, and there have been some coaches who, Dave Campo with the Cowboys, after 10 minutes of the first episode, you're like, holy shit, this guy is in way over his head. The Joe Philbin year with the Dolphins was a complete disaster. I'm surprised Joe didn't get fired during training camp. They're watching, the owner is watching the first episode. He's like, huh. All right, well, that's probably enough of this shit, don't you think? Who else we got? Yeah. Called Jimmy. Is Jimmy still on his boat? Yeah, he's not coming back. All right. Yeah, and so you get to see the Flus talk about one thing. I think they've done a good job, and I think this is a good use of a defensive head coach, is you see a lot of him talking to the offense about what the defense is trying to do or what makes things hard on the defense, which is what you want. You don't want your defensive head coach acting like he's an offensive genius, but he's on the other side of it. He knows the kind of stuff that as a defense that troubles you. And they showed one of Caleb's rollouts, and basically what he did was he credited Caleb with how fast he was moving on the rollout. It's because that puts a lot of stress on the defense. A lot of quarterbacks kind of go half speed because they're looking around. And what you really want your quarterback to do is to bust ass and get outside and make the defense chase him and get everybody out of position. So,
for sure, it was refreshing too in that one scene to actually see Caleb identify that he made a second read when he was looking for Rome on it was the touchdown pass against the Bills. Who was it? To Komet that he wound up throwing it to. But the fact that he actually had more than one read on that play, and for so long we've dealt with Bears quarterbacks that only go to one read and stick with it.
Yeah, and the same was the long run he had against the Bills. The Bills came out and showed they had the safety right in the middle of the field, so they had a single high safety, and then right before the snap, he came up, and they were basically playing with two safeties, and they flew. So what's the first thing you think of? And Caleb's like, well, the middle of the field's gonna be wide open. And so when he dropped back and the first guy was covered, he knew there's nobody in the middle of the field. That's when he just took off and ran. And people could be like, well, that's pretty rudimentary. It's like, yeah, but these are the Bears. We've been watching them forever. They don't do rudimentary. So this is incredible progress. And then what was the one thing Caleb, what was the biggest thing Caleb said he learned? I'm giving you a quiz. He gave 3 things, but then at the end, the one big thing he left with, and it made Flus very happy, was practice is harder than the game.
Yes, okay, there you go. Now it's coming back to me. Practice is harder than the game.
And it's supposed to be, right? I mean, in training camp, you're gonna throw everything at your offense and everything at your defense and make them try to read everything. And in a game, especially in a preseason game where they're not really game planning for you, it should feel easier. And it's a bad sign if it doesn't.
Exactly.
Kind of like and my lasting memory of Justin Fields' first ever preseason game was the Bills ran they couldn't have telegraphed a blitz more if they'd have taken out a billboard. And he didn't see it, and his helmet went about 12 rows into the stands on the very first play he ran.
Yep.
It's like, oh, well, Matt Nagy did a wonderful job of preparing you. This is great.
Yeah. The wonder where that was on the Denny's menu for Nagy.
Yeah. Oh, we should probably get to blitzes sometime. I'll leave myself a note. Yeah, thanks, Matt. That's great. They had a couple of factoids that Bear fans have never, ever heard before, ever.
Yeah, that was cringe.
The Bears are the only franchise that never had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards.
Yep.
And their last all-pro quarterback was Johnny Lujack.
That I would have thought it went all the way back to Luckman, but actually had Lujack in there.
Yeah. That was still T formation where the quarterback was a running back.
Right.
That's what that was. That was. Then we got a nice montage of the national media gushing over Caleb.
Yep.
Which is a nice change of pace. It could turn at any moment, but for now we're all enjoying it.
Yep. Led right into interview with Pardon My Take. And I love that, like, they kind of intersplice like Big Cat right at the end saying, like, the dump off to DeAndre Swift, it looked just like Patrick Mahomes, and it's like he was almost afraid to say it, but that's kind of what it does look like when you're watching Mahomes play.
Yeah, the interview with Caleb and Big Cat and PFT, I enjoyed. I think it was Big Cat, right? Who was like, well, he prompted him something, and Caleb basically filled it in and said, my job is to rewrite history. And they all kind of laughed, and he goes, that is my job. They brought me here for reasons.
Big Cat at the start of it was like hesitant to call him like the savior of the franchise, but Caleb totally embraced it, and yeah, exactly. Yeah, they went over like the whole thing about how, like, is it cocky or is it confidence to say rewrite history? But the bar isn't all that high when you look at Bears history.
No, this is not like he's not going to the Niners, right? Where if you tell somebody you're going to rewrite their quarterback history, you have to be better than Joe Montana and Steve Young and Steve Bono. With the Bears, the bar is a little bit lower. It's like, I don't know. Can I be better than Henry Burris? Maybe. Possibly.
If he can be better than
Chris
Jay
Chandler,
Cutler, he'll own this town.
Yeah. Yeah, I depressed myself in the column on Tuesday when I was going back through. I was trying to figure out, like, how many the Bears have not really had a great quarterback, but certainly we've had good seasons since Jim McMahon. Right. And we had the one with Eric Kramer where he threw for 3,800 yards.
29
and then the J ones were depressing when I looked at him. I'm like, oh God. The 2 times he threw for almost 4,000 yards, both times he led the NFL in interceptions.
Brighter days are ahead, hopefully.
I didn't look up the Jeff George games. I probably should have done that. Maybe that was the last great quarterback. I don't know.
I did love from the scene too. I had this for, alarming, but the 10 Super Bowls question, you push a button and one Bears fan dies, but you win 10 Super Bowls. Would you do it? And he, you could tell he didn't want to say it, but he was with it.
Clearly the answer there is Of course.
Right.
You wouldn't hesitate. If one stupid Bear fan, Lord, I'd
Big
do it
Cat
if
sacrificed himself.
kill 1,000. Be fine with me.
Right.
Yeah, Big Cat volunteered to be the one. not just gave him permission to do it. He's like, I'll just die. It'll be fine. You can kill me. Then they were in the quarterback room, Tyson Bagent and Caleb with a bag that probably cost, I don't know, $4,000.
Yeah, very gaudy.
He's got it on the thing. They puts it on the chair. But basically, Tyson was, unbeknownst to him, was introducing his own package on Hard Knocks. Is what he said was, it's like it's way better in year 2. You know, and I would think it would be, right? It's got to be. The Tyson Bagent thing, we made a big deal out of it last year, and Bear fans did. It's really kind of amazing. I mean, and they did a good job, the narration of trying to just tell you just how unlikely this is, that this undrafted free agent from Division 2, I mean, those guys make rosters, but he won 2 games last year.
Who was it that Tirico had compared him to in that montage? It was like, I don't know, some philosopher that. Yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah, but I mean, with Tyson Bagent now, like, at least you have a starting quarterback ahead of him now that, like, you're never going to question, is Tyson Bagent going to be the number 1 starter going forward?
Oh, no, we're Bear fans, especially, we're recording this during the beginning of preseason game 4, which I'm sure Tyson will have a good game, and there will be meatheads who are like, yeah, that's a guy. Actually, the dumbest guy on Twitter, the former Jet scout, posted the stats the other day, showed Bagent had better stats in the preseason than Caleb this year. And he's like, yeah, look at this.
That really matters.
It doesn't matter at all. None of the shit that guy makes a big deal out of matters at all. I think we can tell why he's a former NFL scout. Because
him and Greg Gabriel have a lot of dumb things to say.
Greg, though, this guy was a scout for like a year with the Jets. He was like as low level a scout as you could possibly be, and it's not a great sign. He clearly wants to still be a scout, and there's a lot of those jobs. Every team's got a lot of those guys, and he can't get a job. But Greg Gabriel made a freaking living doing that for a long time, and he's dumb as a box of hair. So we get that. But then Matt Ryan made a cameo in this episode.
Yes,
Ryan pulls not just his teammate, his former roommate at Boston College.
I actually didn't really know that until, like, I knew Ryan Poles obviously went to Boston College. Didn't line up to me that they were there at the same time, but pretty sweet.
Yep, and I knew he was in his wedding. Yeah, just like Cap was in former Marquette Lotta coach Kevin O'Neill, Northwestern, Marquette, all kinds. He was in Kevin O'Neill's wedding too, or was Kevin in his? Shit, I don't even know. I'll have to have Cap on and ask. He'll talk about Kevin O'Neill for an hour. I'll have to edit it out. Yeah, Matt Ryan, he started talking about Tyson. He's like, I think this kid's come a long way since last year. To have that, if you ever need that week or two to get through something, he looks better. But one of the advantages the Bears have is they have a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract, and they have a backup on nothing. I mean, I don't know. They pay him I think they pay Tyson Bagent like gift cards. I mean, I don't think he gets actual cash.
It's a shame that this isn't Tyson Bagent's rookie year, because then we could have found out what his signing bonus was at least. But both.
Well, Austin Reed's was $5,000.
Yep,
we found that out, and I would guess Tyson's was similar.
Right.
I don't think the undrafted free agent from Shepherd was. And he may have got a little more because there were other teams that wanted him. The Bears he was like their first call, and they snagged him before anybody else could get him. But I don't think he made a whole lot of money. And then I like the Flus asking Tyson one of those questions, like, what do you see? And Tyson basically just ticking off what everybody's supposed to do and what the defense did. And I enjoy one of the things he said. He goes, and then we have a stick hook over here by Mr. Colin Johnson.
Mr. Colin Johnson.
Mr. Colin Johnson, not just Colin Johnson.
Going formal with it.
So then we got to see Tyson draw one of his tattoos on the telestrator in the meeting room.
Yeah, the one.
I really hope
one of his mom, right?
Oh, yeah, there was. Well, no, he showed us that one. That's creepy, right? Isn't this like mom's?
Oh
eyes?
no! This okay? You're talking about the one where talking about his grandfather that was like
that's right,
pilot.
his grandfather.
Yes,
that's right.
Speaking in Welsh.
Yeah, I'm glad he said it was Welsh because I would have worried that it was German and Grandpa was flying in the war.
Yeah.
Oh, your grandpa flew in the war, yeah, for the Air Force? Oh, for the Luftwaffe. Oh, well, that's nice. So no, he was from Wales, not Germany. So that's good. But no, he's drawing this thing and explaining what the things are, and all I'm thinking is because his art skills are not good. I'm like, I really hope he doesn't like draw the tattoos, and then take him to the tattoo parlor and go, "Can you do this?" And they're like, "Yeah, I think I can probably do that. I could do that left-handed if you want." But yeah, like on the inside, his throwing arm bicep, he's got his mom's eyes. This is creepy. It's creepy.
Bit of a weird family, as we'd come to find in this episode.
Yeah,
but
Dad was. You could tell he knew he was mic'd up, and he was enjoying it. Then Austin Reed got to sing.
Yes, Keisha Cole Love.
Keisha, yes.
Which this was probably my favorite of like the rookies singing scenes we've seen so far, because like he probably got the highest percentage of his teammates involved in it of any of the players we've seen thus far.
Yeah, and I liked that he literally dropped the mic at the end too. That was a nice touch.
Yeah, going through puberty in the middle of it, hitting those high notes.
Yeah, not hitting those high notes, just attempting the high notes. And there was lots of celebrities. Lil Durk was at practice. I really want to know why he had his own jersey. He had a 12 jersey.
Yeah. And
I really want to know why he's got a 12 jersey. Is he a big Velus Jones fan? Or maybe we got more ferret news later in the episode.
Sadly.
Could maybe Eric Kramer or Chris Chandler, both of them I mentioned. I don't know why he's sporting the 12.
He was a big supporter of Brian Greasy taking over the starting role from Rex Grossman back in the day.
Yeah, that could be. Brian was 14 though. Bob was 12.
I'm missing. Okay.
We went right to Dad. The fact that Bob Greasy is the Harold Baines of the NFL, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I mean, that dude, talk about being along for the ride. If he'd have played on any other team, he's not in the Hall of Fame. But he was with his weird glasses, handing off 48 times a game.
And Earl Morrall starting the majority of those games.
Yeah, he didn't do shit. So then if anybody out there had watched the off-season Hard Knocks he did with the Giants, this was a little taste of what that was like, because we got behind the scenes of the Bears trying to trade for now former Patriot defensive end Matthew Judon. And that was what the whole Giant thing was. It was all this stuff that I'm sure Joe Shane now regrets. Everybody got to see. And I had heard that the Bears were in on it, and obviously we knew that the Falcons got him. But we found out what the hang-up was. The hang-up was that the Patriots wanted a third-round draft pick for Matthew Judon. Right. And there were multiple teams that were willing to do it, including the Bears and the Falcons. But the Bears' offer was contingent on Judon actually signing a contract extension. They weren't going to give up a third-round pick for a guy to play one season and then go free agent on them. They wanted to keep it. And when they wouldn't do it, I'm sure Ryan Pace was in some conference room in Atlanta basically going, go for it. Who cares? Let's do it. We don't need to sign him, and they haven't. And they might not.
Still haven't, right?
Yeah. So the Bears could just sign him in the offseason and save the third-round draft pick.
Exactly.
I thought that was good, and what I really liked was they show we got a lot of Jeff King in this episode. Jeff King, not the former Pirates first baseman and third baseman. It was a different Jeff King.
So we see a presidential candidate in this. Ted Cruz.
That's right.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. He doesn't look as much. He doesn't look as much like Tom Ricketts as I thought he did. It's quite a difference, actually. I don't know why people think they look alike. So Jeff King is talking to the Flus on the sidelines, and Flus is like, we're going to get it over the finish line. He's like, oh yeah, no problem. Yeah. Well, they didn't. And it was funny. But my initial thought when the Falcons got him was, and I know Pace is not, although Pace got promoted last week. He's like the senior director of something or other.
Player personnel, or
he's a big deal again down there.
Right.
That's a very him move. Like the Falcons they should be better than they were last year, but they're not. This is not a team this is not a Super Bowl team or a team that's just one defensive player away. And it's the same mistake he made with the Bears. Now the cost is a lot less.
It's very reminiscent of like Khalil Mack almost, but
I mean, the Khalil Mack trade, obviously Khalil was a great player and he played very well for the Bears, but it didn't work because the Bears weren't close enough yet. They didn't have the quarterback. Yeah. You make that move when you think you've got everything in place, and now it's like, okay, we need the one piece to put us over the top. Well, Khalil came in and did everything you could have possibly asked him to do, and they didn't win a playoff game. It's like, okay, that didn't work. We spent a lot of money and 2 number 1 draft picks, and it didn't work because it wasn't Khalil's fault, but we weren't ready. And it's a third rounder, so it's the stakes are a lot less. But the Falcons aren't ready. That's fine. Yeah. It does show that the Bears are still looking for the other defensive end. Which I don't blame them. Although, apparently the Hard Knocks people are pretty convinced that Austin Booker is going to the Hall of Fame.
I was going to say Austin.
Another
Booker
week, another Austin Booker feature.
Yeah, had a lot of time on there, and love seeing the entire breakdown of them acquiring the pick that got him. Yeah. Jeff King came out real on top there.
Yeah, because that was a guy sticks his head and pulls off. His pulls is clearly like he's in that shit. Should I have just done the deal? Right? He's standing there. He just got the news they didn't get the player, and I do the same thing with like fantasy baseball trades. I can't imagine what it's like when this is your real job. And I'll be like, oh, I should have thrown. What, can I throw one more guy in that trade? Really? Is that all he got for him? And the guy sticks his head and he's like, yeah, but look at that. I mean, they had to give up a 3 and some significant financial stuff. And we just used a 4 to get Austin Booker for 4 years. And then we get the montage of the Austin Booker.
Yep.
Yeah, it is cool. And I think the guy who comes off really well from the front office in these last couple of weeks is Ian Cunningham. It's kind of the voice of reason to Ryan Poles, the guy who's like, plays devil's advocate, which is what every GM needs. Like you have to have the guy who will push you. I think that was a big problem with Ryan Pace. I mean, we knew that from the fact that he was like, when he decided to pick Mitch, he wouldn't tell anybody because he didn't want somebody to try to talk him out of it. Well, that's not good. Like if somebody can talk you out of it, if you're worried somebody can talk you out of it, you're probably making the wrong decision.
Yeah, having multiple voices in a front office, what a concept that is. Not like I don't think they have that at the corner. Clark and Addison these days. It's probably Jed and Carter just waxing.
Yeah, they got Jed, and then they got Carter over there in the corner eating paste out of a can.
Mm-hmm.
Did I tell you that I told him to sign Jose Ramirez? Yes, you did. Every day, 8 times. Maybe come up with the next guy. I don't know. Yeah, and I liked at the end. So they make the move. Jeff King again gives the thumbs up to Poles, who immediately starts, typing out the pick so they can get him. And he looks at Flus and at Kevin Warren, and he goes, "In a year, he'll be a guy. I know him well." About Austin Booker. Maybe it won't even take that long.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he got mentioned in the broadcast during the Bills game. Jim Miller called him like a poor man's Max Crosby.
Yeah, which seems insane.
seems insane, but I'm also not entirely sure what the definition of like poor man we're saying there. But
Yeah.
Max Crosby was drafted very similar spot.
Yeah.
He was
I'm sure that's why. Jim Miller he knows a lot of football stuff, but he on the Bear broadcast, he's very much football Rick Sutcliffe.
Right.
Everything's great. Everybody's great. He does not tell stories about his grandson, Ryder. Maybe he doesn't have one. If he did, I'm sure he would tell them over and over and over again. But otherwise, you get very Rick Sutcliffe vibes from Jim Miller when he's talking about the Bears.
It's a shame.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot.
There's no one. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say a lot of draft guys had Austin Booker far higher than where the Bears got him, and like Dane Brugler was like, I don't understand why he was still there in the 5th round. It's like everybody's looking for edge rushers, and here's a young guy, not a lot of miles on him, who when he played made plays. He's got all the traits. Coaches don't. He's not an asshole. He's not. It's like I don't get it. But I mean. Guys fall and rise for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes it's just a bunch of teams in a row aren't looking at edge. They need to shore up the offensive line or whatever, and all of a sudden players start to drop, and the Bears jump back in and got him. And it may amount to nothing, or it may turn out to be, he may be Richard Dent.
Exactly.
Who knew? Who knows? We'll have to watch, find out. But I thought Austin did have a very ominous and kind of creepy comment. When he said, I'm going to continue to get better in the shadows, and they're not going to know what hit them. It's like, we're talking about football, right? You're not hiding in an alley trying to mug someone. This is football. Is that what we're talking about here, Austin?
Let's not scare some fans away with that comment, Austin.
Yeah. And then Velus Jones Jr. got to close the circle on the tale of the great ferret Crash Bandicoot. And his story was very funny.
Yes, I love the story of him and Pittman going to some shady place in L.A. Get this ferret.
He goes, it was the sketchiest thing ever. We went to some alleyway in South Central, and I told Pittman, keep the car running. And then they were only like some creepy guy stuck his head out the door and then went right back in and then came back out and he had a little pouch with a ferret in it. And they're like, oh, okay, good. It's legit.
Yeah.
And I liked how he wrapped up his story, which was, he goes, I get a little emotional sometimes. He's in a better place. R.I.P. Crash. He didn't explain how he died. We're all pretty sure that Velus dropped him. But
as he does with most things, yeah.
Okay, now we get to some of the stuff that we knew, like we predicted was going to happen. We were going to see in Hard Knocks this season. These were guarantees. And I'm amazed it took until episode 3. We get the Flus nickname montage.
Yes.
But it starts with the dumbest one ever. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know who Redrick Stewart is.
Reddy, yeah.
Yeah. But but Flus asks him, where did you get the nickname Reddy? His name is
Redrick.
Matt, yeah. That's how he got it.
Put 2 and 2 together there, Flus. Come on.
And the Flus goes around and he's giving all the nicknames. And I learned a new one. I did not know that. I don't think Khalil Herbert can be very happy with his nickname. He's Herbie the Love Bug.
Herbie the Love Bug.
I mean, Flus usually gives cool ones, especially the defensive guys. Although Montez, you could tell he kind of feels like he needs a better, more thought. He's like, he calls me Monster of the Midway or Monster.
Monster, yeah. I enjoyed him calling Rome Odunze Romy the Homie. Yeah. Very, very reminiscent of the Fuka Dome is my home shirt from that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure that there's already an obvious shirt now from that episode, all ready to go. Yeah. So we got to see the Flus giving out the nicknames, and then I'm also amazed it took until episode 3 to get the punter profile, but we got to spend some quality time with Tory Taylor. And I liked how, they're obviously hard. They're good at this. They have the Matt Ryan tease up the Tyson Bagent thing. They have the guy when the trade falls through tee up the Austin Booker thing. And now they have they go from the nickname thing to the Bears media asking Tory if he has a nickname yet, and he says no. Right. And one of them, I don't know who said. I was trying to figure out who it was.
This was Whoever that was is one of my big losers of the week.
Yep.
After getting
What do you think
immediately
of
shut down.
crocodile punter?
Ugh.
He goes, yeah, I definitely don't want that.
Right.
How original. That was his response. I definitely don't want that. How original.
I will say this, as cringe as that nickname is, he did go on to say something about how, like, he didn't want any sort of nickname that has to do with, like, him being Australian. And it's like, if you're Australian in the NFL, you're probably going to get some kind of, nickname that ties into that.
I'm telling you, there is no way. We're not going to get through game one, regular season game one, without Jeff Joniak yelling, punt another shrimp on the Barbie. I guarantee you.
Oh, okay.
I guarantee you that's coming. It's just dumb enough for Joniak to remember and say.
Punt another shrimp on the Barbie.
So then Tori explains, because Tori's older. He's like Velus age. And he's talking about how he was like working construction. This is not uncommon for the Australian punters. They tend to be older because they tend to be guys who, like him, played Australian rules football and now aren't playing it anymore and have jobs they don't like. And then this Pro Kick Australia. What I picture is the Pro Kick Australia guys like go to Home Depot at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not looking for day laborers. They're looking for guys who can punt a ball. They're like, and they're like, oh, we got one. And this dude's huge. This is like 6'4".
Right.
And so he said, Pro Kick Australia trains people to go from Australian football to American football. I thought, why not? I'm not really enjoying what I'm doing. And I thought it was perfect that he ended up at University of Iowa because I thought, why not? I'm not really enjoying what I'm doing is the state motto of Iowa.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's perfect.
Although, he was used quite a bit at Iowa, so he was definitely enjoying it.
He has, unlike Austin Booker, there's a lot of miles on Tory Taylor.
Exactly.
There's a lot of punts. Year 2 may need a hip replacement from all the Kirk Ferentz ordered punts. And then they show the punts, and I think there were people who kind of like roll their eyes, oh, it's a punter. And I don't know if it was in this, but somebody's like, it's like he's going to reinvent the position. It's like he doesn't have to be reinvented. He's got to be good at it, right?
Exactly.
Like, there's a lot of value in having a good punter.
Yes. Flip that field. Put them in
his
bad
first
field
punt
position.
in the Bills game was like 78 yards in the air, and a lot of hang time.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Amin or Jim Miller is like, oh, he outkicked his coverage. It's like, he gave them plenty of time. This was not a low line drive. I mean, if Kevin Warren had a crane over Soldier Field, that punt would have hit it.
Yes. Cranes in the air.
Yeah. See, Kevin, we can't do it, but our punter will hit him. I think it was Waldron, right? Was like sitting in the meeting room and he's going on about how amazing he's got all the clubs in the bag. And he goes, he's like Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah.
And I kept that in the back of my mind because then I got very worried when we actually we saw Torrey driving to the game.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, he's going to hit a cop. He's just like Scotty Scheffler. But he did.
You know what? As someone who is often in the downtown Chicago area driving, especially on Bears home game days, I can relate to him because I don't always know which streets are going to be blocked off by everyone.
Yeah.
And especially, this week with the DNC in town with more blocked off than normal.
I also got the feeling, I think Hard Knocks did him dirty when he didn't stop to ask for directions. He was asking the guy telling, the players don't go in the same, they don't drive down the same entrance that everybody else does.
Right.
And that guy was telling him where to turn. I think it was, the players have to go here. I don't think he was was asking random strangers, how do you get to Soldier Field?
Yeah. Have you ever been in the players' garage before? How do I get there?
Yeah, there's lots of broads down there that can tell you how to get into the players' garage. So then the Bears, we got to see a little bit of the Bears joint practice with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes.
And
I loved it before, too, with Flus really putting the hammer down, saying, I only got one rule, guys, no fighting.
Yep. He told them if anybody that got thrown out would have to come back to the part of Hallis Hall and do conditioning. And they guaranteed nobody wanted to do that. They're like, nope,
Right.
that's fine. We're not doing that. And I know that seems like a stupid thing, but like both the Jets and the Giants had joint practices earlier this year. One of them with the Good Morning Football guys sitting there. There were huge fights in both. And it fucks up everything. It screws up the whole day. And it's like,
it feels like
you're already playing football.
Right.
You get to hit somebody every play. So just hit them. You don't have to punch them.
Feels like every time they show footage of that from a joint practice in preseason, there's always a fight breaking out.
Yeah.
But those are the practices where you learn the most because it's not your playbook that you're having to deal with.
Yeah, and that was probably more valuable than the preseason game. Was the practice stuff. But it rained. In fact, it rained so hard that that practice was supposed to be open to fans, and they didn't open it to fans because I think that it was just a mess. They didn't want everybody making the fields even worse and getting so. And then they showed DJ Moore and somebody else both trying to cut and falling down. And you could just hear DJ's voice. He goes, "I'm better when it's not raining." Understatement of the week.
Yeah, no shit, DJ.
And then the Bear quarterbacks have some very elaborate breakdowns. And one of them we got was rain pouring, Bears scoring. On 3.
Right. So some of those huddle chants were very cringeworthy. There was the one with Lil Durk going Shy, Ka, go.
Yeah.
Swag.
There was one time. Yeah, Bajan had one about the swag with the white cleats.
Yep.
Yeah. Whatever happened to Go Bears on 3?
Exactly.
1, 2, 3, go Bears.
Just get Ditka in the middle of it, when he got his number retired.
Go Bears!
Right.
So last week, Keenan Allen was a hot topic on this podcast. Partially because they showed the whole thing with him and Jalen Johnson going up, and he never got open. He didn't catch a pass. And then he didn't do much in the preseason game against the Bills, and JT O'Sullivan was like, "He's not even running hard, whatever." It's not that Keenan needed any redemption, but he got a lot of it this week. There was an entire montage of Keenan making the Bengals defensive backs look terrible. So if you were worried about him, I don't think you have to worry about Keenan Allen. And then a lot of good Jalen Johnson stuff. He seemed to be very much enjoying
Had some
playing
good
the
coverage
Bengals without Jamar. It probably helps to not have Jamar Chase, but still, he was everywhere. And the reporters who were there said that the Bears, on both sides of the ball, really kind of were very impressive against the Bengals. They were clearly the better team. All Keenan continues to do is amaze. Was the Liev Schreiber intro to that part. And then finally, they threw the bone that we've been waiting for to Kevin Warren.
Yeah.
We got some stadium talk.
Yes.
Not a lot.
1
But some
minute
stadium
talk of the stadium on the lakefront that'll never get built.
Yep. And the most important thing they possibly could have been discussing.
The tables or the fixed seats. Yeah.
Should we have fixing or high tops in the club seating?
Yeah. And the one guy
and Kevin Warren.
It was Ted Cruz.
You could do either.
Right?
Yeah, we got to see Ted Cruz. Because we could do either, but I just think there's more class and panache by having fixed seats. Okay. That's fun. You guys sit and look at your little plans of your little stadium that's never going to get built. Right. At least not there. Mm-hmm. And that's fun. And then the segue away from that was, that's all in the future. No, it's not. That's not in the future. We got to see Cairo giving Tori shit about trying to remind him which side of the road to drive on.
Yeah, I love that. Man. I know.
And a very good, with the two of them standing next to each other, a very good, and we'll see it every time there's a kick because Tori is the holder, but Cairo could basically fit in Tori's pocket.
Yeah.
He's much smaller than the
he's
punter.
a tiny man.
He is a tiny kicker, even by kicker standards, and that is a very large punter by punter standards.
Right.
And I tried to look this up because they made a big deal out of him having to hold, and I feel like it's, and I don't know what they do at Iowa. I don't know how I Google like did Torrey Hunter. No, that wouldn't be good. Although he would catch everything, we know that.
I was going to say for some high snaps, Torrey Hunter would be great. Yeah.
I saw Torrey Hunter rob Barry Bonds' home run in an All-Star game in person. It was very exciting. And then Barry ran out to the field and tried to tackle him and acted like he was kidding, but I think it was the roids. It was rage.
Yeah, it was the roid rage.
I want to know, did Torrey Taylor hold in college? Because a lot of colleges now have their punter hold just like NFL teams do. Especially if you have a good punter, because it helps if they already know how to do that. It makes them more, but I don't know if he did or not. But they made it seem like he didn't, but he's handling everything just fine. They even gave him some bad snaps, I'm sure on purpose, for him to handle.
Yeah,
exactly.
And he did. Yeah, Patrick Scales got him down. Come on, man.
So then we got to see the guys milling around on the field before the game, and we forgot Simone Biles. Another thing to check off the list. She's Zach.
Yep.
And she was wearing a Packer jacket. I know it had her husband all over it, but it's like, no. And I like that somebody basically said to her, you might want to take that thing off.
Right. Yeah. If you're, anyone with the Bears higher up, and you see her walking in with that, go get her a Bears jacket, please.
Yeah. I mean, we know George is still wearing the one that they handed out in 1990. He wears that every day, but there's got to be. He was the old equipment guy. I'm sure he knows where they keep some stuff. Mm-hmm. He can sell it to her. Oh, that's nice. That's $88. What? Plus tax. The Eberflus girls were back.
Yes.
Always welcome to have Giada and Gabby and Mom. I forgot Mom's name.
Kelly.
Kelly. Yep. And one of them realized that it was Caleb's first ever game. And she goes, oh my gosh, it's his first game at Soldier Field. That's so fun.
Right.
And it's funny because I'm like, nobody cares about their first preseason game. But apparently Caleb did. And then one of the coaches, I think the quarterback coach was asking him about his nerves. And he goes, I don't get nervous.
Right. Hasn't gotten nervous
high school
since
before
high
my
school.
first game.
Yep.
Yeah. Fumbled 2 snaps, and then I threw an out and out for a touchdown. I've been fine ever since. Yeah. And I think that's probably true. I do think there are some guys that are like, nope, this is what I do. This is fine. That was never me.
Guys like that.
I was one of those guys who, if I wasn't nervous before a game, I got worried that I wasn't nervous. I'm not ready because I'm not nervous. I needed to be nervous until the first play of whatever the sport was, and then I was fine. Right. But I had to be nervous before. And then I felt bad for Tyson Bagent. So him and Austin Reed are trying to figure out where the families are sitting, and Austin's like, well, I got 2 right there. It's like, oh, that's just the comp ones. And Tyson's like, I had to buy 80 tickets.
80 tickets.
80 and $100 a pop.
Yep. And
that's what my thing. It's like, for a preseason game, it's like, well, no, of course he does. He's playing. As you get to see him play, of course he has to buy him for a preseason game because there's no guarantee he's going to he's going to play at all.
Yeah. You had some parent wanting their kid to arm wrestle Tyson Bagent's dad too. That was great.
I also enjoyed they had a clip from the Senior Bowl of Tom Pelissero from NFL Network. Arm wrestling. And he's basically just holding his hand up, but he's like, I really thought you were going to be stronger than this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you remember the line from that? It was Travis Bagent said to him, most people call me Travis, you can call me Daddy.
Daddy, yeah. And he about yanks his arm out, pulling it down. Yeah, Dad. So Travis Bagent was signing autographs before the game. I thought that was funny. I mean, he's a celebrity. He's a world champion arm wrestler. I don't know how many arm wrestlers are signing autographs, but he was.
Apparently, he's I guess you could say either the Shohei Ohtani or the Yu Darvish of arm wrestling, because there's a line that Tyson Bagent had that he was the best left-handed arm wrestler and top 5 for right-handed arm wrestler.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hasn't pitched in a long time. I'm very concerned that this might It's for like personal issues. I'm very concerned this might be it, and he will never have done the thing I
Right.
wanted him to do, which was at least pitch one inning left-handed in a big league game. So then the game finally started, and Liev told us that Williams is having trouble making a connection. So is his offensive coordinator. The receiver in his helmet was cutting out.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, shitty Soldier Field technology. Park District. There,
Shake off the cobwebs of that.
like they got a CB radio in Caleb's helmet instead of an actual. Like that'll work. No, that's not going to work. And I don't know how much that contributed to the 3 and outs. It had to be some, right? I mean, if
Right.
he was like, I'm handling it. He was basically just, he'd hear as much of the play as he could and just call something and they'd run it.
What was it another scenario? Because we didn't really see this in Hard Knocks, but was it another scenario of Staley not being out there with the Quiet Bears at Work sign to quiet down the
Could be.
fans?
They did show Staley one of the celebration he does, which is very troubling. One where he scoots his butt,
Rubbing his ass along the end zone. Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's got worms. That's poor Staley. It's terrible. What are you feeding him? The mascot is wiping his ass in the end zone again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so cute. Like, no, it's not cute. It's a medical condition. Or his anal glands need to be expressed. So somebody get down there and George, what? Again? Nah, fine. I got my gloves out and my Camry. I'll go get them.
Ted, are you still on payroll? You're normally the one to do this.
Yeah. Ted's like, nope. That is no longer other duties is assigned for this guy. I'm on a beach.
Yeah.
With all the money I saved and all the money I embezzled. That's all. I've got it all. Oh, and the Flus girls, then we had to see Tori Taylor doing some punting. The Flus girls, they approve of the punter. They're very excited.
Yes. They approve. They had, in some of those like commentary scenes of them, like their facial expressions just don't change at all. Like there's a term I could use, but gets said about resting a blank face.
They seem so nice though.
Sure.
And I liked Tori Taylor came over to the bench to give Caleb shit after he'd punted 3 times the first quarter. He's like, I thought you said no punts. We had 3 in the first quarter.
Right.
And Caleb's like, well, I wanted to get you some work in this stadium.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's like, I appreciate it.
That was great.
And then the Bears got interception from my favorite Bear, and I don't think he's going to make the team, but I think I would buy a jersey if he does. By the great Amen Ogbongbemiga. He was with him last year, too, for a while.
Yeah.
So he gets the interception here. Flus go, well, that's 1. Got to get at least 2 more.
I thought it was only 1 they needed in Buffalo. Now it's up to 3 for this game?
It's 3. It's probably 5 for the Kansas City game. It'll be up to 8 for the opener against the Titans.
Exactly.
All right, guys, we just need 8 turnovers. 8! We only had 14 all last year.
Right.
Yeah, we're supposed to be better. And then a nice little montage of Kyler Gordon highlights.
Yes,
because he really did have a great
huge hit.
Yeah. And I think it got lost last year. He got hurt in the opener against the Packers. He broke his hand. And that was a big part of the defense's struggles, I think, early in the year. I think the 2 things, obviously, turn the defense around where you get Montez Sweat. That doesn't hurt. But the guy Kyler back, he missed like 6 weeks, I think, and then came back and once he got in shape, because he's that rare thing. Like, he's a shutdown corner who is more than happy to play in the slot.
Yeah. Oh,
and you need a really good slot. And the Bears don't just hit. Most teams, it's like their third corner. He's not Bryce Callahan, who really was good for them, but he was not. There was nothing. I mean, Vic knew where to put Bryce, and when he got hurt, that screwed the Nagy Bears a little bit. But having Kyler there, he makes a big difference. And
right, he goes out there and he hits hard for sure.
And then we had another Jonathan Owens soundbite. He was talking shit to the tight end for the Bengals, and he goes, "I'm a prolific tackler." Okay. Yeah, we saw it last week, but it'd be nice if you tackle the guy before they're already down. That would be fun.
Right.
But that's fine. And then defensive back coach David Overstreet Jr., his advice to the players, if it's wiggling, hit it.
Yes.
If it's wiggling.
If it's wiggling.
Like you guys remind me of me. So then Flus was telling it, you could see the offense only ran 14 plays. Let's go. We'll stay in it. I got more plays. We're gonna run. And they had terrible field position on that drive. They had about the 10.
Right.
They got out of jail with a Rome Odunze end around.
Yes.
And especially when you watch the replay, he just glides. I mean, he's hauling ass, and he does not look like he's running hard. He's just chewing up grass. I know this is controversial. I think Rome might be good. I don't want I don't want to say crazy stuff.
Yeah, don't be spreading these hot takes around here.
I think this Rome Odunze guy might be pretty good. And then the long pass to Tyler Scott, which was pass interference. Caleb looked, disappointed, not because it was a penalty, but he thought it should be a touchdown. Tyler he's super fast, but he's got an issue. He does not track the ball very well in the air. And it was a real problem last year when Justin would throw deep to him and he would be like running the wrong way. It's like, no, you're looking at the ball. Why aren't you running towards the ball?
Right.
And his adjustment to the ball took him into the middle of the field, where the ball was not going, and then back into the defensive back. And so it's a good thing it was interference, because even if the guy hadn't touched him, Tyler, he wouldn't catch it. No. That's when they got the field goal.
Right.
So that was not the 90-yard drive. That was the other one. That set up a little Cairo magic. He came out and they kicked the field goal. Okay, that was only 14 plays, because they were only at 9. They only ran 5 on that drive with the penalty. Yep. Flus is like, got to go back. We need more work. And that's when all the cool shit happened.
That was the deep ball to Rome.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the touchdown, the pass to Rome that everybody thought was a touchdown, except for ironically, except for Tyler Scott, who was looking at his feet and just like covered his head, like, you asshole, you're out of bounds for no reason. But there was a weird. So
I hate that they do that in preseason.
Well, I was gonna say, do you know whose fault that was?
No.
It's Metallica's fault, right?
Oh, from the concert. Okay.
The Park District didn't do the normal. They didn't line it like normal, because they're going to tear the grass. They're going to redo a bunch of the grass before the opener.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't, like every NFL football thing, the out of bounds line is you have the out of bounds, and then you have the big white. They fill it all in with white. They can't make it more obvious where out of bounds is.
Mm-hmm.
All they had for the game on last Saturday was they had the line, the out of bounds line, and then just green grass, and then another line behind it.
Yeah, they didn't.
And I think Rome looked down and saw the line behind him and assumed that was out of bounds, and he's thinking, "Oh, this is easy. I got both feet in." He didn't have either. He was out of bounds both feet. He was so much out of bounds.
Yeah.
But that, of all the passes that Caleb has thrown in the preseason, that to me is the most impressive one, because he's rolling to his right, which I know he's right-handed, but he's running out of room, and he threw that thing so hard off one foot, and it was perfect.
Mm.
It's like, holy shit. Yeah. I'm gonna go out on a limb with this too. I think Caleb Williams might be kind of good.
All right. Do you want to just end this right now, Andy?
Yeah, I know. Hot takes. It's all hot takery. And what was the delay? Did they review that? They didn't have to review that, right? There was something, but he was over. Maybe he just came over the sidelines to talk to Shane. But they got the sound clip of him. He looks, he goes, "Did you like that, ref?" That was pretty sweet, right?
Well, that I thought was the actual.
Oh, was that that was the 45-yard, the one to Rome?
Yep.
Yeah. So then they got a 3rd and 7. I don't think it was 3rd and goal. I think they could have got a first down at the 1.
Right.
And that's the one where he looks and looks and looks and then rolls out and then sees Big Tevin in front of him and runs it in for the touchdown. And just like on the highlight that they had on they put on Instagram, I think. You get to hear the great call from Jeff Joniak of that play, where he never once tells anyone what yard line the ball is on ever.
Right.
Ever. It's like, all right. I got to tell you guys, I don't know how anybody. I know they think he's a hell of a guy. I don't know how anybody can think he's good at that job.
Yeah, exactly. Is the yard line that the ball is at? Is that important at all?
No. Yeah. Caleb rolls out. Here he goes. Oh, he's still looking. And it's a touchdown. Oh, what? It is? Where was he? I didn't know where he was.
Where did he start from? Was it from his own one? It was a 99-yard touchdown? Wow.
So Caleb has the ball. He goes back to the bench, and he has to tell like 4 people that he's not giving them the ball. Like there's a equipment guy wants it, and there's somebody else wants it, and he's like, I'm keeping it. I'm just keeping it. He's basically having to stiff arm people away. Clearly does not trust that ball is ever going to get back to him if he gives it up.
Right.
So then he goes, and at halftime, you can see the whole thing. He goes all the way back to his locker, and he zips the thing up in his bag.
Yep. In his other very gaudy bag.
And I'm watching that whole thing, and I'm thinking, how long are you going to give a shit about that football? Because in 2 weeks, hopefully, you're going to score a touchdown for real, and then that's going to be the ball. It's not going to be this was a preseason game against the Bengals that I ran one in. It's like, you couldn't.
Well, think about this, though, Andy. If his first career touchdown pass goes to Rome Odunze, who between them keeps that ball?
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's Caleb. First pick gets it something nice.
Right.
Well, how about this? This could be another thing that could happen. What if we find out that Caleb took that football and he has cut it up into little pieces, and in a partnership with Ian Happ's Connect Roasters, they're going to have football-infused coffee.
There you go. Like the pasta they did with the Bartman ball at Harry Carey's. Yeah.
Yep. They're going to blow it up, and then they're just going to... Everybody's going to be drinking dirty football.
Yep.
Which I would guess probably would be better than the Ian Happ coffee. I don't know.
Improves it.
I really like this. What is in it that's not normally there? Dirt. Oh, well, good. Thank you. It's very nice. My compliments to the gardener or whoever got the dirt. That's awesome. Then we got to see some. Then it was Tyson Bagent time, and he really did look good. He noticeably is throwing the ball. Like he's improved his arm strength. Maybe doing burpees and whatever for a mile or 2 miles, whatever. Maybe that was the secret. I don't know. And he's playing with a lot of confidence. It's very clear. So during that's when we get mic'd up Travis Bagent. And he was in his element.
He was given the hot takes, wanting to outlaw running backs and running plays.
Yeah. He's one of those guys who he says something mildly funny and then he laughs in a way that everybody has to laugh.
Right.
Or you get punched. Oh, good one. Holy shit, that was nice.
Yeah, please don't hurt me, Travis.
Yeah. And I don't know who the guy was. We don't know who the guy was talking to. It's not important, but you kind of hear him like in mid conversation. But he's like, "Oh yeah," he says, "Caleb's a great guy." All the dudes are. They're happy. They're all happy. They're all rich. They all look great. All the girlfriends are hot.
Yeah.
And then Tyson threw 2 touchdown passes to Dante Pettis. And after the second one, he went over and he got the ball and he spiked it. And that guy tells Travis, he's like, "You didn't see him spike it?" And he's like, "Tyson grabbed the ball and spiked it." He's like, "Rewind it.
Rewind. And then they showed it again.
So then Hard Knocks rewound it for him. Then the game's over. And he gets some sound of the guys. Jack Sandborg came over and told Torrey Taylor, "Nice holding." That's what he told him. Nice holding.
Nice holding. I mean,
are we going to?
It was tough for him to hold there in the rain for second half.
That was actually good. It's probably really good to get that, to get some elements they've had. Because even though it rained in the Hall of Fame game, nobody was going to make the team played in that, and then it was mostly lightning, so it wasn't. It didn't really rain till after they'd already sent him in the locker room, so nobody would die.
Right.
So it was probably good to get a little weather. Agent pondered, are we going undefeated in the preseason? Well, probably, but nobody really cares.
Yeah.
And then Caleb was breaking him down, and he goes, through thick and thin, Bears win. And you hear somebody yell in the back, hey, that's a bar.
Yes.
He's writing raps right after the game. And then the last thing my last note was at the very end, you saw Jonathan Owens and Simone Biles walking out, and that jacket was nowhere
different
to
jacket
be seen.
On. Yep.
So George did his job, went down and stole the Packer jacket from her.
Better late than never.
But yeah, I thought it was a good episode. It's I know Dan Bernstein from Score thinks this is a boring season. I don't. It's the Bears. I enjoy it.
True.
Pro Football Talk broke the big story 2 weeks after everybody had been talking about it, about how there's no swearing because the McCaskies don't want there to be swearing. Also, don't give a shit. I just,
right.
I've heard swears. I say them myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
fine.
Andy. But,
I don't need it.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So our superlatives here at the end of this stuff. So who was the big winner? Who are the winners of this week's episode?
Big winner for me. I got to go the two Bajents, Tyson and Travis. Also think Tory Taylor for all the future on him. And I think Matt Eberflus really won it. This was probably the best he's looked because, you saw like the most connected he's been with the players that we've seen him this far, like especially in the nickname scene and him talking with Caleb in the opening scene.
Yeah. And I think
stuff.
You can only tell so much from this, but we can tell stuff from people around the team. That team seems to like, how am I trying to say this? The Flus is very clearly a very detail-oriented coach. I mean, there was a whole thing in that thing with Fishbane where he basically explained how they teach those guys to tackle. They tackle the hamstrings, and you take 3 hard steps, and then you go through this whole thing, and they're actually graded on every tackle, whether they do that or not. And the players don't seem to get annoyed by that, which is very easy when you've got a coach who's nitpicking every little thing. So clearly, he just has a way of doing it where they're like, okay, that's maybe if they did get off to a bad start, I suppose all it goes to hell. But I do think it's a good sign that they. It seems like a team that likes to be coached, and not every player likes to be coached, and it really helps. If
right.
I think the Flus has come off very well. And I enjoyed our little time with our punter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought,
I will say I didn't know it was a thing until this week about the whole punting and kicking program overseas for Australian Bruce football players.
Yeah, there's a whole mess of them in college, and have been. Illinois had one a couple years ago. They had an Aussie punter. Maybe they had it. Maybe even last year. There's a lot of them. They tend to be older and bigger, and they've been kicking shit their whole life. They're good.
I mean, I know most kickers and punters previously had played soccer in high school or college.
And I wonder if, unless you're and I don't know enough about it. I mean, I watch soccer, but I played it in gym class. This is the only time I ever played it. Maybe the soccer style kicking is more useful for place kicking. The only guy who really punts the ball is the goalie. Yeah. And so maybe that's where Aussie football, where you're running around and you're punting it and you're doing all kinds of crazy shit. Maybe that's why, there's so many of those guys now. Because maybe it becomes innate. I don't know.
Right.
I'm just talking out of my ass. But yeah, I thought the Flus, our crazy punter, I like him, and I thought that I thought Pace, the whole Matthew Judon thing. I thought
Pace or Poles?
Oh, Poles, not Pace. I have him on the mind because he ended up with the player.
Right.
I don't think it was a good trade. I thought the fact that they showed him like setting a price and for a reason and then sticking with it. Like, okay, there's a reason we demand we're not just at the last minute going, oh, it's fine. We don't need the contract.
Stuck to his principles on it, and probably the move that is the most prudent.
I thought the losers were Khalil Herbert. Now that I know that his nickname is Herbie the Love Bug, it's very unfortunate. Him, and I think the guy, I don't know who it is. I want to know who it was. The guy who asked Tori if he liked the nickname Crocodile Punter. That was terrible. He's
on my loser list for sure too. Yeah. I had a combination of Simone Biles and Kevin Warren for the jacket.
Oh yeah.
And whoever came up with like I mentioned earlier, all the like huddle chants of the swag with the white cleats, QB, because you could tell in at least the first three of them that none of those players seem really enthusiastic about it.
No, they were dumb.
I'd also say Tom Pelissero too for the arm wrestling scene.
Literally a loser. Yes. Yeah, I don't know if his elbow is recovered yet either. See, best scene?
Best scene for me got to be Flus with the nicknames. Even if, the one with Herbie the Love Bug was not great, and then the Ready.
Well, they're not all going to be winners.
But
you got to what's he got to give up? Trading camp, he's got to give out like 80 nicknames.
I think the players do genuinely like it, that like they have a coach like that they can joke around with a little bit. Yeah. And I like Flus putting down the hammer, saying no fighting in the joint practice with the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean I think that's like the first time we've seen him like, I'm sure he does it, but like I'm not fucking around.
Right. Be somewhat of a disciplinarian.
Yeah. It's kind of like Donald Sutherland in Animal House. I mean, no, this is my job. They're not paying any attention to him when he assigns the Milton reading. But that was Flus, and they clearly listened to him because nobody did it.
Right.
Yeah. My best scene, I think, was probably I enjoyed Velus telling the Crash Bandicoot story. I thought it was very funny. And then I think my favorite clip was it's not really a scene, the slow motion isolation on Rome on that 45-yard catch.
That was
It's just something about it. I mean, the way he ran that the way he immediately recognized that play broke down and just go deep. And it's funny, though. You hear all kinds of shit. I forget who said it. I don't think it was Miller on the broadcast. It was somebody else. He's like, well, see, what he did there was great wide receivers put their hands up late so the defensive back can't react to it. And they do that. And that's a real thing. But on that play, his arms are out for like the last 5 steps while he's catching the ball. I mean, it was not an instance of...
It was in a
There's no need to fool the defensive back in that point. You have beaten him, and now you're just getting under the ball.
Right.
Some wannabe football expert explaining. Oh, you know what happened there? No, it didn't happen there. Yeah. Most alarming scene?
Alarming for me was one you just mentioned, the Velus and Michael Pittman adopting the ferret, telling the whole story of it. Just going down some shady alley in LA for... Did he say it was a ferret breeder?
Yeah, I don't know.
And then also the pardon my take 10 Super Bowls question. And I mentioned it earlier, Tyson Bagent's dad wanting to outlaw running backs.
Yeah.
It's alarming.
Yeah, mine was Simone Biles thinking that it was cool to wear a Packer jacket to a Bear game.
Yeah.
I don't get that. She knows better than that.
Right. She just had her husband on the mind. She'll eventually. There's some graphic design.
Well, I mean, you can't cut her. You cut her a little bit of slack. It's more a Jonathan Owens jacket than it is a Packer jacket. But he's wearing his Packer stuff in all the little screen printed images, so it becomes a Packer jacket. So no, he can't wear that.
Yeah. Should have been a thing first week that he signed with the Bears. That should have made one with
Yeah, they've had time. She's got money.
Photoshop on there.
This is not the old Olympics where, you're not allowed to make any money. Right. She's rich. She can afford. She makes a lot more money than he does. She could have got a jacket made.
Exactly.
He signed in March. This is not. He didn't sign yesterday. You weren't in Paris when he signed. You could have had a jacket made. Another most alarming scene was the Tyson Bagent. His mom's eyes tattooed on his arm.
Yeah,
I'm having a real hard time with that. I'm gonna. You could see it in his jersey. I'm gonna need him to wear a shirt under that because I don't want to see that. That's very weird.
Seeing those in my nightmares tonight.
Yeah, the funniest moments, I think we hit most of them. I liked the punter giving Caleb shit about 3 punts in the first quarter.
Yeah,
I did enjoy that.
That was great.
Because I remember that was a big deal, around the draft was, I think Torrey told the story that after he got drafted, he got a text from Caleb saying, I'm glad to have you, but you're not going to do much punting.
Right.
I don't know if that's because they're going to score all the time or Caleb's just expecting they'll turn the ball over a lot and they won't ever have to punt. But I think it was because they're going to score.
I would hope so. Funniest moments for me, I went with Caro Santos giving Torrey Taylor shit for driving on the right side of the road.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams asking the ref if he liked that completion to Rome, as we mentioned, and then Big Cat kind of sheepishly calling Caleb Williams the savior of the franchise.
Yeah.
Beginning of their interview there.
Yep.
Did you listen to the full interview by chance of that?
No.
Some pretty good stuff in there. Went about how Big Cat tried to, I guess, recruit Caleb Williams to Wisconsin by convincing him we'll sell so many T-shirts if you come here. That Caleb Williams apparently for a stretch only ate the same one meal for every meal of the day. Forget exactly what it was, but some good stuff in that interview.
Did he say when that was? Because there was that the Athletic did a whole thing on him. He lived by himself as a senior in high school because they didn't live that close to the school he went to. So his parents basically got him they basically rented a condo, and they would during the week he was pretty much there by himself, and he was cooking, and he was basically eating the exact same thing every time. And he may have done that for a long time, not just in high school, but I remember that from there. Where it was like a chicken breast and vegetables or whatever. And he just ate it. That's all he ate.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he's a different dude than has ever come into this league. I mean, he's been, he's been a grown-up for longer than a guy his age, but he's money is not a big deal because he made it in college. I mean, he's been rich. And, that was what scared a lot of people, right? The whole bullshit about, his dad's going to demand ownership in the team and they're going to, they want it and all this stuff. And to their credit, they asked all that stuff, but when they were explained to why they couldn't do it, they went, okay, fine.
Yeah. But
it wasn't they weren't just going to assume they couldn't. They were going to ask the questions. But they, he signed right away,
put to bed all the rumors about him not wanting to be here.
His was the one, right, that they threw the fit about because he signed. They announced it leaked out that he'd signed the contract.
Yeah.
But then he didn't sign it that night, and then he signed it in the morning the next day. And there was this whole thing in Chicago media about it broke down and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked Poles about it, and he's like, "Well, you have to write the contract." You sit at the thing and you come up with the terms, but somebody has to actually add that stuff to the contract so that you can then sign it.
Right.
So yes, they left that night with him. They had agreed to terms, and then in the morning the contract was actually ready and he signed. That was the big controversy thing. Did you guys ever buy a house? Do you accept the bid and move in that day? No.
Right.
There's a bunch of shit you have to sign first. So, oh well. But we still got 2 more of these.
Yeah, one to cover for game that's going on right now.
And then one for all the sad one, then all the cuts.
Yeah.
However, like that used to be brutal. That last Hard Knocks episode, no matter what the team was, because you do get, as much as you can in 5 weeks, you get attached to some of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this thing started 20 years ago, pre-practice squad. You got cut. You were gone.
Exactly.
You were out of a job. And then there was the 8-man practice squad, but now there's the 16-man practice squad, and a lot of these guys get cut and they end up still there. And then we'll know, obviously, because they're Bears. We'll know
for sure.
I think we'll know the day the next one airs, who's going to be safe in the last episode.
Exactly.
I think Tuesday is cut down day. So that we'll see. All right. That was fun.
That was fun. Thank you, Andy.
All right.
Many of us have herpes.
See what was up your sleeve? Did you use it or?
I don't know. What's up yours?
You got me there.
Yeah.